Hey guys, Tricks Ridiculous back with another video, and I really just want to vent for a few minutes about this game. You read the title of the video. If you're watching at a later date, this rant is from September 23rd, 2020, and the game is currently on patch 1.3. Warning that this video will also include spoilers from the upcoming AIM clone lab, so if you don't want any spoilers from that, you have been warned. Alright, so getting into it, I kind of hit a breaking point with the amount of shit I've been willing to put up with in this game, so I basically got angry and just wrote a script for this video. So kind of what you're hearing is really just my crazy ramblings about how this game has been mismanaged and some thoughts on how to fix it. Now, I'm trying to keep a level head. I do not want to convince anybody that this game is shit or try to start an angry hive mind against the game. I don't mean to come off as toxic in this video, and don't worry, this isn't one of those I have to move on to other games type of videos. I'm still going to be playing Avengers and making plenty of content. I still really enjoy the game and I want the best for it, otherwise I wouldn't be writing this. But I think some of this stuff has to be said because there's got to be a little more accountability on the developer's end for some of the garbage in this game that we've had to deal with. For what it's worth, I do believe that this game is a fantastic base to build a live service game on top of for years to come. But unfortunately, right now, I feel like that's all we really got is just a base. So starting off with the biggest elephant in the room, the lack of multiplayer in endgame content. Now, people bought this game thinking they were getting an online shared world MMO style looter game, similar to something like a Destiny. But here we are at a severe lack of content, and the only two current endgame activities, you've got the Elite Heroic Hive and the Mega Hive, both of which have to be played solo only. Now, this design decision makes absolutely no sense. Before the Mega Hive, I thought, okay, the last Avengers standing mission, that's solo only. Okay, that's okay, I guess. Some people are probably still leveling up all alternate characters. There's probably not too many players to squad up with right now, so maybe they intended this. But then they come out with this second piece of endgame content, the Mega Hive, and you still in this one cannot play with friends. It's totally ridiculous. So how do we fix this? Well, it's really simple. It's really simple. You make the Mega Hive multiplayer, or you release a separate mode with multiplayer ASAP. And also a note to anyone at CD, if you're listening to this, any other pieces of content that you have planned that you're planning on releasing as solo only, scrap it. Just scrap it, put it back in the oven, and keep cooking it until it's ready for multiplayer, and then release it. Do not release any more solo-only modes. Nobody wants them. Make solo play an option. Options are always fine. If you give us the option of solo mode or multiplayer, that's totally fine. There's definitely people who are going to want to play solo, but absolutely do not force us into any more solo-only game modes anymore for the life of this game. Period. Easy. Done. So next, moving on to the bugs. Now, this has got to be the biggest issue for me. Now, the game simply does not work properly. It should not have been released in the state that it is in. You can blame, COVID, things like that, but the game was already delayed earlier this year, so I don't think that's really much of an excuse anymore. And to make matters worse for me is patch 1.3. Now, this was supposed to be the granddaddy of all patches, the patch that was supposed to fix everything. Over 1,000 fixes, they were selling this patch to us as, this is the one. Everything's going to be fixed after this. And yet, here we are in patch 1.3 and almost nothing actually got fixed. The game still freezes, at least for me, on PC constantly. I have costumes still locked that should be unlocked. Matchmaking isn't any better. I can literally never find a single person to do an Elite Hive with after 5+ minutes of matchmaking. And furthermore, they nerfed legendary gear into the dirt. Hero-specific roles that used to always come with the same 3 perks now only come with 2 and a chance at the third if your RNG is good. Now, just kind of a side rant on gear for a sec, that doesn't make any sense. It might make sense for gear if it was dropping with completely random perks. Maybe you can get, higher perks to compensate. So then if you get a piece of gear that has 2, perks and really good stats versus a piece of gear that has 3 perks and moderate stats, you'd actually have a decision to make, with your build as to which one of those is better for you. But for a set piece that always drops with the exact same perks, having it drop with sometimes 2 perks and sometimes 3 perks with no stat to compensate for the missing perks makes absolutely 0 sense. Any piece without the 3 must be deleted, with 0 consideration. So that's really disrespectful to players' time trying to grind these pieces, whether it be from hives, from vaults, or from villain sectors. If you start getting these pieces and they've only got 2 out of the 3 possible perks, you're just going to scrap it immediately without even considering it. So, really disrespectful of our time. And really not happy with that. I think the community's a little unaware of this fact right now, so it's not really a hot item, but I think you'll be hearing a lot about that soon, and people are really going to be fed up with that one. So how do we fix this? Well, you make the game work. Right? Make it not crash for starters. The cosmetic vendors shouldn't be eating currency. We shouldn't get to floor 14 of an elite hive just for enemies to not spawn or be stuck behind a door or the game to just completely crash. Faction vendors need to let us accept the villain sector bounties. We're going on literally 3 weeks of the game. You have yet to do them more than once. Now, I'm not, a back-end video game programmer, coder, whatever, so I understand that these things are not easy to do. I get that. I know it's tricky, it's difficult, but we deserve a working game at minimum. I really don't think that's much to ask for as the consumer here. Right now, it simply happens, all these bugs are simply happening too often to be acceptable. Now, we've been hearing the song and dance for a while. We're looking into it. That's fine. It's good that they're saying that, but my biggest concern is that, they claimed that this patch 1.3 was going to be the big fix, and the fact that almost nothing actually got fixed really concerns me. That's a huge concern, that we're just going to kind of be in this state of we're looking into it. Maybe it's a new bug. They're going to release another patch that's going to, quote, fix the bugs again, but it's also not going to work, or it's going to break new things, and we're just going to be playing catch up. So I really, really hope that they're able to, kind of clean things up from a bug perspective, but based on what we've seen so far, they don't give me a lot of hope to think that they're going to do that. So the last thing I really want to talk about in this video is content. Now, forewarning again that this will be spoiling the new AIM lab, so this is your final warning to click away from the video. Okay, so I understand the game's only been out for about 3 weeks, but it's pretty clear to everyone they're reusing assets at an extremely alarming rate. Currently, the end game consists of a 14-floor regurgitated encounters over and over again, and then another mode which is 40 floors of regurgitated content. The only 2 actual bosses in the game are Taskmaster and Abomination. I guess you can also say MODOK, but you never refight him. Before the game launched, I honestly thought to myself, if they're drilling down all the way to Taskmaster and Abomination, they must have absolutely jammed this game full of villains. But I was really wrong about that. So get ready for this. Now, this is really what broke my back and made me write this whole rant. So the AIM lab was recently leaked. Someone was actually able to kind of glitch into the lab, complete the whole thing, and kind of report back on the mechanics and everything about it. So last chance to get away. I don't know how to do it, so don't ask me that. If you do want a more detailed breakdown of the mechanics and fights and things, check out Tony Bing Gaming. Great channel. He's got a great video on that. But it sounds like, from what I heard, it sounds like there is definitely some uniqueness to the encounters. They're not just the same old regurgitated encounters until you get to the boss. Now, I almost didn't believe this at first because it's unbelievable. This is actually unbelievable. But the boss of the new AIM lab, which everyone, is calling the raid, right? The new big raid, big AIM lab, the boss is Abomination. And not just any abomination, but you fight 3 abominations at the same time. Same exact moves, same exact fight, just 3 of them at once. That's it. That's the final encounter of the raid. Now, that is really, really, really bad. Like, I cannot express how bad that actually is. That is not going to work. That is not going to fly, and people will leave the game on that alone. You might think I'm overreacting, and maybe I might be, but I don't think I am. I honestly think, especially players going in completely blind, thinking this is a raid. Imagine you go into this raid blind, and the boss you fight is Abomination. It would be, for me, it would be very easy to see a lot of players just like saying, okay, I can put this game down now. I think it would be really easy. That's like ridiculous. They couldn't have come up with one extra character for this raid. It's unbelievable. So how do we fix it, right? Well, so my hope is that this AIM lab is not actually the raid. I hope it's just kind of another content insert and gets kind of marketed that way before a real raid comes out. And kind of again in spoiler territory, we do know that we're getting Black Panther, and the Wakanda region has been data mined. So we do know that not only are we getting Black Panther, but Wakanda as a region is actually in the game files. So my hope is that, the actual raid is actually on Wakanda and is a really truly unique content experience with unique encounters, unique mechanics, and unique bosses. That is the only hope, because if this AIM lab is going to serve as like a long-term kind of piece of endgame content, it's not going to fly with Abomination as the boss. It's just not going to happen. So that's all I've got. It's sad, because prior to the game's release, it was very easy to see that the developers really had a true passion for the game. They really love comics and they love the characters as much as the players did. But unfortunately, we're starting to see those cracks where, like many live service games we see in the industry now, it's really becoming like that minimum viable product and kind of that slow content drip. So I hope this game doesn't turn out that way, but those are just my thoughts right now and some suggestions on how to fix them. Like all of you watching, I am really, really pulling for this game to succeed. But right now, the inability to deal with the bugs, the overstretched use of their content, and the failure to even understand the basic fact that players want to play with their friends. That gives me a lot of cause for concern. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. If you agree with anything I said, be sure to like and let me know your thoughts below. I appreciate you listening to me. If you got this far, let me know, and be sure to subscribe as well. Take it easy, guys.